a glorious afternoon. There's snow coming tomorrow apparently, or maybe even tonight. So it seemed like a great idea to get out and make the most of a bit of sunshine. The sun's gonna set soon, so better get on. I did want to show you the mole activity. There seems to have been quite a lot going on in the last couple of evenings or nights. Let me show you. So this one is pretty small, but there's definitely evidence of that mole being around. And this one around here is just monster proportions. I think you'd call this an excavation. And it looks like he's having a bit of a go at the gate as well. Hey, each to their own. We certainly don't mind a bit of wildlife, and moles fall into that category for me. So, it's chilly. I'm gonna dig. Well, I'm getting there. It looks like about 4 inches I've taken off this bottom layer. I thought if I went down and took a real deep layer out, then I might just get away with doing one layer. So I've got this little section here to do, and then I'm going to get that liner in, and fingers crossed it's going to do the job. Let's see. Well, what do you think? Answers on a postcard. No, just joking. It's a pretty deep hole now. Whoa. Give you some idea. Yeah, there we go. So, a moment of truth. I've had a few moments of truth with this here hole, but this one, I've got a good feeling about it. Let's see. Well, I've set you back there because this is all about whether the rim of this liner sits in the right position at that level. Oh, there's a bit of ice in here. Get that out. Which way around? That way around, I think. Fingers crossed. Yes! Right. There we go. Level with the ground, awesome. And I've got a bit of filling into the gaps to do another time, not today. And then I'll start on that shelf and see if we can get things looking attractive. That's going to be a real fun part of this job. I'm looking forward to that. Wow, what a load of spoil came out of that hole. Who'd have thought that was in there? Incredible. There we go. Good times. I was getting a bit concerned about my peppers. They've been in the propagator now for probably 2 weeks plus, and I hadn't had any germination at all. And then yesterday, when I got up and had a look, there was a solitary seedling that had come up overnight. And I thought, well, I've got one pepper, we'll see how we go. And sure enough, this morning, there's 2 more. So the moral of the story with peppers is don't be in a hurry. They take a little while to come through. And they're at a fair old temperature, 20 odd degrees. And I want to get that temperature down fairly quickly because the onions are in the same propagator. So I'm trying to get to that moment when there's enough peppers up to turn the temperature right down, because I don't want the onions to get leggy. So we're making progress. It's taking just a little longer than I thought it would. So I wanted to do all these groundworks at the same time, but I put a halt to this one because the path and the pond felt like fairly mammoth tasks. So they've progressed quite well. I'm at the point with those where Everything I can do now is just enhancing the major work. And I'm thinking that I could do with getting this cover off, getting a bit tidy here, and just working out the dimensions of this bed. This courgette bed really hasn't succeeded for the last couple of years. I'm not quite sure why, because it's a good mound of my fresh compost each year, but it certainly hasn't done the trick. So I'm going to progress towards a much more open bed with a little bit more width on it so that I can get good spacing. So that's one of the jobs at hand. The other one is the path that goes around the chicken coop. So I laid all this additional pathing in the spring and summer last year, and it's proven to be very useful, keeping us safe and not slipping. But we do still go down here to get around the coop, and at the moment, because the chickens are in, we're able to take this secondary gate that I produced and open it, which means we can access nice and easily. But once the chickens are out and that gate goes across so that they can move into the open area, we're forced to use this again. And whilst it's frozen this morning and not too bad, it is incredibly slippery when it's wet, and we get plenty of wet weather. So I'm probably going to need, my guess is 15 flags to come down here, return to that step, and enable us to move around safely. Let's see how many steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. About 4. And if I look at this run here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, perhaps overestimated. So maybe I ought to find 10 flags. So I'm very fortunate. One of the allotment holders here has got a whole load of flagstones that they're happy for me to use. And I've just got to get them from the top of this allotment down to mine, which is a wheelbarrow job and a few trips. But I think I'm going to do that because at least I can get them on site, and then as a change of scenery, perhaps I can have a go at this. So we'll see what the day brings. Well, best laid plans of mice and men. The gate's locked, so he's sure to come by some point today, and I'll ask him to open up the gates so I can bring those pavers down. So that's decided for me what I'm going to do this morning, which is have a go at this here courgette bed. So first things first, get a bit tidied up and get the covers off. It'll be really interesting to see underneath that black weed membrane and see how the soil is actually developed. And then it'd be a case of cutting a bigger space and digging down, see what the quality of the soil is under the grass, and then spreading out the compost that's been under that black cover. So that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Now this membrane is not really going to be able to be used particularly effectively again, mainly because it's got holes in it that I planted into. We'll see in good time whether any of it is salvageable, but I'm thinking probably not. There we go, that's the last one. Got a few little ones there. As you can see, it's a real rich compost, and it's going to do well for spreading once I get the shape of this organised. So for the next few minutes, I think I'm going to ease the edges and remove the fabric. I think the next step is to mark this out, the sort of size and shape that I want it. It's very easy once you start digging in an edge to go offline, and I want to try and keep it parallel to this. So I'm thinking it'll come over probably a couple of feet this edge and stay pretty similar this edge because I don't want to encroach too far onto the shed space. So coming over here is probably what it's about, and I'll get into here and mark it out and then see if I can get the spade in and get the top off of that grass. Okay, we're marked out now, and I've just put these bags on the tops of the spikes just to make sure nobody walks into them for safety, and we'll see if we can get a line. Right, there we go. That should suffice. That'll give us some idea of what we've got to work on, and not too much to take off of here. And whatever I take off the top surface will be heading down onto my continued levelling at the bottom of the plot. This isn't strong, so I've just got to be careful I don't walk into it. But it does mean nobody will trip over it because it will break. So next step is just to do a bit of shaping by taking the surface off and seeing what we're going to be working with. Okay, well that's taken out the top layer, and some of that turf was really good quality, and rather than just unload it down the bottom here in a haphazard way, I've stacked it because that may well come in useful somewhere on the allotment. I might use it here, but I've left myself some options, which is helpful. So what do we look like? Well, as you can see from this lower level, we've got ourselves a decent sized bed now, and I'll probably just turn this over a little in due course. Obviously get that last bit of membrane out. There's some pretty chunky weeds in here. You can see the roots there of a dock, and we need to get that out. But it's looking very useful piece of land now for growing. I'm sure some of you are asking, with all the land that I use and all the beds that I've got, why on earth would I need more space? And the reality is I don't need more space. What I do need is better quality of crops, and that's going to be my objective. Not growing more quantity, just growing better. And of course, when you can spread crops out wider apart, then they tend to perform better, as we've seen with things like the celeriac. So the idea here is to enable the existing number of plants to be healthier and more productive. So that's the plan, and there are plenty of beds around my allotment where I still try and put the plants too close together, and these sort of steps and measures allow me to spread them out a little bit further. Well, I spared you the unceremonious removal of the edge of that weed membrane, and I remembered and found out pretty quickly why it was so tough to get out. And I remembered that I secured it with these bit of scaffold pole and iron stakes, and they'll come in really handy for growing brassicas in the future. So that's nearly the first step completed. You'll see that there's some red clay in there, and I put that red clay in this bed many years ago, and I'm going to regret it, I'm sure. It was sold as a growing medium and was very cheap and in large quantity, and I shipped some of it in with wheelbarrows, but I don't think it's done that crop any good. So we'll see as I start working on it whether I shift some of that out or not. You can see the volume of it there. It's quite a lot. So we'll probably dig this strip a bit, spread the good compost over and just assess what that clay looks like. Well, I think that's me done for today, and it's been a productive day. I wanted to leave you with that sunset, which was pretty fantastic. So I hope you enjoy, and bye for now. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.